Yes, shall we move on then to Hustlers?
It behooves us.
Based on a true story, but particularly on Jessica Pressler's New York Magazine article about that story, Lorraine Scafaria's Hustlers can be fairly quickly summed up by the article's title. The Hustlers scores a modern Robin Hood story, the strippers who stole from mostly rich, usually disgusting men and gave to, well, themselves. That headline certainly gives a more accurate idea of the story than do the trailers, which paint Hustlers as a story of righteous indignation and retribution against those on Wall Street who didn't suffer from the financial crash in the way that they ought to have done. It certainly involves ludicrously highly paid Wall Street bankers and traders, but it's really more of a straight-up crime story than some of the marketing might lead you to expect. Set in 2014, the film is framed, sort of, as a flashback from an interview with Constance Wu's Dorothy, or Destiny when she worked at the strip club, relating to the at first unseen interviewer how she began working at a Manhattan strip club, catering largely to Wall Street workers and other big earners, happy to drop $10,000 a night on drinks and private dances. Destiny struggles to make much money at first, but she encounters the club's top talent, Jennifer Lopez's Ramona, who takes her under her wing, and soon she's paying off her grandma's debts and buying expensive clothes and cars, all with single-dollar bills. After the financial crash of 2008, the Wall Street guys are less inclined to spend big, and Destiny and Ramona find work elsewhere, and in the end drift apart as friends. A few years later, and a broke Destiny, now with a young daughter, ends up back at the club, but finds it a changed place, with the no-touching policy having been, shall we say, relaxed somewhat. But she runs into Ramona again, who recruits her into her new wheeze. Finding the Wall Street guys they knew, drugging them with a mixture of ketamine and ecstasy, and then running up huge tabs on their credit cards, of which they get a cut from the club. And soon everybody's in on it before it inevitably all explodes and arrests are made. So, while the characters here are quite easy to like, there's only one stereotypically bitchy fellow stripper for instance, the problem is that it's hard to feel much, if any, sympathy for them and their inevitable downfall. I have no issue with the dislike of the finance folk, but a bunch of people who drug people and rip them off because they fancy a new fur coat? No. But Constance Wu and Jennifer Lopez are fairly engaging on screen, though Lopez much more so, and the whole film is reasonably entertaining, though I don't care much for the structure and shifting framing. However, it's the inconsistency with which it's used that bothers me, not the devices themselves. If Julia Stiles as a journalist hadn't been dropped in so late, I doubt I'd been bothered by the attempts to illustrate redacted or off-the-record comments. I don't have a lot more to say about Hustlers. It isn't great, but it's reasonably entertaining, and earns itself a recommendation for being a crime film with a predominantly female cast, something which is rare, and from the perspective of a female writer and director, which gives it a tone different from a lot of comparable films that I've seen. For example, I doubt many films about strippers written by men would focus so much on the workplace politics, or the practicalities of relationships with such long work hours. And it's certainly likely that the women's bodies shown will be more revealing, more often, and with more titillation in mind. It is still there though, particularly in a spectacularly athletic demonstration. She's 50 from Jennifer Lopez. The film stands out in every way. It's fine.
This is Jennifer Lopez's best and most engaging performance since Out of Sight, I think.
Yeah,
and
I'd probably agree with you.
Yeah, and she is. I mean, not that I've seen everything she's done, but I did. My sister came down to stay a couple of weeks ago over the weekend, and my wife and I, we gave in and let her put Enough on Netflix, which is a terrible film, but like in a very junky sort of sleeping with the enemy kind of way. I would certainly much prefer Jennifer Lopez to our other friend.
She who shall not be named.
Yes, and but no, Jennifer Lopez is really engaging in this, and man, she's only getting better with age. That woman is like a fine wine, but. I mean, obviously, this is a film which has got a lot of surface appearance, and I'm not going to be too shallow and just say, man, J-Lo is super, super hot, and she's 50, because it shouldn't be a surprise. And she is really talented. I know there are people who are disappointed that she wasn't nominated for Best Actress Awards this year. I wouldn't go so far as to say she deserved that particularly, but she sustains this movie well enough that I've watched it a couple of times now. I watched it with my wife, and again we watched it when my sister was down again, and it was really, I mean, I didn't have any objection to watching it again. It was pretty painless. I'm not sure I'm going to watch it a third time at any point soon. But the cast are all engaging. You know, there are a lot of bit part players who are. I mean, Cardi B. I was aware of the fact she was a recording artist of some popularity. I couldn't have picked her out in a lineup.
I was much the same, Craig.
Yeah, but she's. But like, for example, she's pretty engaging in this. Lizzo's in there as well, who I did know who Lizzo was. Points with the kids there. You know, and it's all very engaging and very fun when it has a spirit about it. But ultimately, it is about a group of people who drugged people and stole from them. Now, if you set those two groups side by side and say to me, which of these two groups, strippers or Wall Street bankers, most deserve to enjoy their life, I would always err on the side of the strippers, because frankly anyone who works in Wall Street deserves to die in all the fires. However, we do still have laws and legal precedents for a reason, and it leads to a relatively ordered society, and I don't want to condone the actions of Jennifer Lopez and Constance Wu in this movie, but it is a good deal of fun watching them do it. There is a certain feeling of catharsis knowing that not one of these people was ever convicted for a crime during the financial crash or as a result of that, and yet these women, obviously, for what you could argue would be a much lesser crime, or certainly a much smaller degree of financial fraud if you remove the drugs from it, were locked up. But it's a compelling story. It's interesting to work in a moral grey area. I appreciate that it put that forward, and it doesn't really make a huge attempt to absolve them of any blame. I don't think the movie asks us to be massively sympathetic towards them. Although certainly at the outset they are very sympathetic characters. It's just that, emotionally it's difficult to sustain that attachment when what they ended up doing was so obviously morally reprehensible. Whether or not their target market deserved it is another question. But listen, it's a good, solid film. You know, it's an entirely female cast. Drew's right. This is a crime movie driven entirely by female performances, which is refreshing in and of itself.
And isn't Ocean's 8?
Exactly. All of those. Oh God, all of those things are, or all of those performances are really compelling. It's a great watch. I would not want to put anyone off watching it. I don't think it's going to go down in history as a classic, but I do think it has a lot of value. And also, if you were worried about, you know, if you're slightly more prudish and you're worried about the fact that this is about strippers and it's just going to be an absolute flesh fest, then, you know, there are brief moments of nudity, you know, maybe 3 or 4 times across the whole course of the movie, but I wouldn't let it put you off.
They are fleeting. Yeah,
they're fleeting, and there's nothing exploitative about it. And often where it is deployed, it's to highlight just quite how depraved these Wall Street guys are in their behaviour more than anything. So yeah, it's good. This is like a high 3-star to a low 4-star movie, depending upon what mood you're in when you watch it. It's good.
It's solid. That's it.
Yeah,
it's solid, and it's a film in this genre, the female perspective and the female cast, and
a female director.
That's a reason to look at it, because it's like not like most films in that genre. Yeah,
I'm ashamed to say I can't remember the director's name now, the lady who directed it.
Lorraine Scafaria.
Right, okay. What else has she done?
She did Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, which is really good.
I never saw it.
Crazy Rich Asians, which I've not seen.
Right, okay, so she's worked with Constance Wu before. This is the first time I've seen Constance Wu in anything. And I did listen to a podcast where people were kind of berating her performance, and I thought that was a bit tight, because I actually thought she was all right.
No, sorry, she's not. It was just constant. She's done this and Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. No, she didn't do Crazy Rich Asians. I've crossed wires somewhere thinking about Constance Wu earlier. My apologies.
Okay, no, that's fine.
No,
listen, I understand thinking about Constance Wu. She's very nice.
She wrote Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Okay.
Seeking a Friend for the End of the World I really liked. Actually, it's better than this, but it's not really comparable. So,
well, on the basis of this, is that if this is her on a slightly off day, or just maybe not firing on all cylinders, then I look forward to seeing whatever she's going to do next.
Not much to say. Thought it was solid. Maybe a bit less impressed. I thought the I thought I could do with about 20 minutes being chopped out of the middle section. There's a series right in the middle where it starts dragging quite a lot, where they're doing the same kind of drugging trick over and over again. It's like, I get it. Could we just hurry things up along a bit? That aside, yeah, it's fine. My only real bit of cognitive dissonance was knowing that there was people saying this is actually a really good film. This should have been Oscar contenders for various things, not just J-Lo's performance, which is the highlight of it still. And I don't quite see where that's coming from at all. That's a weird thing to say about it. Perfectly solid film, but I can't get all that excited about it. And yeah,
I think there's a level of wish fulfillment there, isn't there?
Yeah.
This doesn't come to being the best of the year any year, not even close to it. So, but yeah, it's solid. There are lots of solid films. That's, but yeah, it's not special.
Yeah,
watchable.
It's not like there's not a place for it, but you'll know by the synopsis whether it's something that you're gonna want to make time to see.